Webster Tarpley reporting from Washington, D.C. Now, this program is being recorded early right now. It's Wednesday at midday here in Washington, Wednesday, the 29th of August. Now, we're just getting to the point to talk about Ron Paul's farewell, Ron Paul's last hurrah, Ron Paul's swan song with the Sun Dome. Now, the main thing to understand about this is he led these people into the wilderness, and now he's dumping them. He led you into the desert, and now he's saying, ciao, hasta la vista. And that's it. No fighting perspective. What to do? Oh, just keep on keeping on. Platitudes, right? His problem is that his gamble didn't work. The goal of all this was to get little Rand on the national ticket for vice president. That was a bridge too far. The way that it could have worked would have been if Mitt Romney had fallen short. At that point, Mitt Romney would have been able to turn to Ron Paul and say, Ron, get your delegates to vote for me, and I will put little Rand on the ticket. Or at the very least, I'll make him something important. I don't know what. What does he want to be? Secretary of the Treasury? I don't know what. Head of the Federal Reserve? Probably vice president. That's the most plausible. But it didn't work because the other candidates were too weak, and the Ron Paul help worked so well, right? Ron Paul helped Mitt Romney win Michigan. If Romney had lost Michigan, considered one of his home states, he would have been almost fatally weakened. And the effect of the Ron Paul candidacy was to siphon off the votes from Santorum that Santorum would have used to defeat Romney. So, in a certain sense, what Ron Paul did for Romney during the primaries worked excessively well. He helped him in terms of siphoning away the votes, and of course he ran interference for him in all of the debates. So they didn't need Ron Paul and his delegates. Those delegates would have been the kings of the world. They would have been feted in all the hospitality suites. They would have been the apple of Romney's eye. But he didn't need them, so now he casts them out, right? He says, you guys, drop dead, get out of here. And, well, we've seen now how the Ron Paul delegates were mistreated, right? I mean, this is a totalitarian party. Surprise, it's a totalitarian fascistoid party, because when you're organizing the crazed petty bourgeoisie for the purposes of finance capital and Wall Street, you can't have too much of this grassroots stuff. Now, if you think Ted Cruz is the grassroots, the Tea Party from Princeton, yeah, that's extremely plausible. These have all been taken over by the Competitive Enterprise Institute, the Heartland Institute, the Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brothers networks, and so forth. Right? That's what's left of the Tea Party. These are a bunch of political opportunists on the make who have attached the label Tea Party and the funding to themselves. And, of course, they go through a litany of extreme reactionary fascistoid positions. But, that left Ron Paul not needed. So you saw it when they had the roll call of the states. I can remember in 1968 up in upstate New York with a couple of fellow students, we were listening to the Republican convention of 1968, the roll call between Nelson Rockefeller and Nixon to see how that would turn out. And Nixon, of course, won. Now, of course, this is all over. But in this case, the totalitarian Republicans don't even count the votes, right? The state delegation would say, Texas, 20 for Ron Paul and 50 for Romney, or whatever it was. And they'd say, Romney, 50, and that was it. You didn't exist. That's a totalitarian party. And these poor Ron Paul people, these poor duped gulls who sweated blood for this and who believed in it. How could you? I told you not to do this. You were duped. You were used. And now, of course, we even have this rule change. They changed the rules. It's not enough to get 6 states with a petition. Now you got to have 8 states. And they made that change right on the floor. This is essentially the Nuremberg rally. It's got as much relation to law as the Nuremberg rallies back in the 1930s. It's a show, right? It's getting to be more and more like a Nuremberg rally, and less like a political party convention on the 19th or early or even mid 20th century model. So I urge you, Ron Paul people, learn this lesson, for God's sake. Get out of the Republican Party. Dump that group of reactionary swine. Don't be mixed in with those fascistoid creeps. Get out. Dump them. What more do you need? They've given you an engraved invitation. You are spat upon. You are scorned. You are ridiculed. Get out of there. Get into some kind of an existential crisis and ask yourself, what the hell are you doing? And dump that Austrian ideology, because the reason that you got into this predicament, think of it, in the first election after Mad Dog Bush the Younger and Cheney leave the White House, you're back in the Republican Party. Who did that? Ron Paul, the leprechaun. He used his pixie dust to turn you into Republicans. You should have taken an oath, as I did, when that Bush-Cheney ticket left the White House, never to support a Republican for 5,000 years. And instead, within just a few years, Ron Paul had sucked you in. And remember, that whole exercise was to put little Rand on the ticket. That's horrendous. So now learn the lesson. Get out of the Republican Party. Consider doing what I tell you, which is fight austerity. Don't you be the shock troops of ruling class austerity. Don't you be the squadristi out there for the Simpson Bowles or the Republican Study Group or any of the other competing models of how to flay the American people alive. You want to be populists, defend the people. Defend the economic rights of the people, not deficits, debt, and all this idiotic garbage. Put away Milton Friedman. Toss that stuff into the garbage can. Von Hayek, von Mises, they're all paid by Rockefeller. They're all Rockefeller agents, every one of them paid by Rockefeller, promoted by Rockefeller. Learn something.